Okay YouTube, how's it going? Today I'm going to be doing a tutorial guide style video. I'm going to be rehousing my two avicularia purple ears, and I just wanted to do a bit of a tutorial on the things to look for and to go by when rehousing spiderlings. So this is a sling tutorial, rehousing tutorial. Okay, as you can see here, I've got plenty of Arboreal Sling setups here for my pokies, and I've got one for my blue fang here, and I've got an avicularia one here, which is exactly the same as these pokies. And these are going to be the style of setups I'm going to be doing for these two here. Okay, so obviously, I mean, these guys are pretty small. Let's see if we can show you one here. You can just see him in there. He's pretty small. So that's something that we need to consider when doing these setups, obviously, because especially with avics, they are quite fragile little things, and they can't. You've got to make sure they're not too overwhelmed with the size of their enclosure. So they need to have security within the enclosure, and these are all things that I'm going to cover through this tutorial. But also, whilst we're talking about sling tutorials, I'm going to just go over terrestrials as well. I've got two very small terrestrial spiderlings here. I've got a Cyclosternum fasciatum, commonly known as a Costa Rican tiger rump, if I can just get the top off, and I've also got a Nandu chromatus. Now these little things are very small, so I'm only keeping them in these small enclosures because they don't need anything more, then they'll feel overwhelmed if they do have something more. And both of these as slings tend to do a bit of borrowing, so you want to give them a little bit more substrate, and they like it relatively humid. So these are perfect little tubs. These are the tubs that they actually arrived in from the spider shop when I ordered them. So for now, for the first molt or two, these will do fine before being upgraded to what I shall show you next for terrestrials. I'll leave them there for now and I'll move them later. The other things I use for terrestrial spiderlings are just the containers that you get crickets in. Very useful containers these are. Let me just do some on my desk, there's a bit more space. Okay, I've got two spiderlings in here. Now I've got one which is my Pteronachilus marinus. You can see that on there. These guys like it pretty dry, and they web up fine on their own, so you don't need too much in there. I probably could have done putting a little bit more substrate in there, but it's fine for now. It'll stay in there fine and happy. And the second is my Mexican red knee, my Brachypelma smithii. And for those of you that have been watching my channel for the last year or so, you guys will remember when this was in a tub similar to the other two back there, and it's being upgraded to this now. And these tubs are just very useful. They've got plenty of ventilation in them, which you can block up with sellotape if you want to increase the humidity and lower the ventilation. And I use these for my arboreals just by tipping them on the side, and they work absolutely fine. But let me just quickly show you if I can get this top off without stressing out the spider too much. There we go. Yeah, so you can see it's just a water bowl and substrate, and there was a little hide, but it's turned up on its side. So, but yeah, these things just work really well, and they stack up nicely. As you can see, you know, they are just very useful containers. These I recommend if ever you buy crickets or locusts or anything, save the containers, clean them out, save them, because they are very useful, very useful. Alright, so let's move on to me actually setting up the two enclosures for my two avicularias that I'm going to be rehousing. Alright guys, so as you can see we're outside because what we're about to do is going to be a bit messy, so you want to keep this outside so you don't get your carpet all muddy and all that sort of stuff. Okay, so if I was doing a setup for a pokey, what I'd probably do would be, as you can see, I've got two bits of cork bark here, one for each enclosure, just there. Now, you don't have to use cork bark, but this is just what I've got to hand. You can, if you want to, go out into your woods pick up some bark that you think looks nice, but you have to make sure you sterilise it. So you want to bake it in the oven for about 10 minutes on 100 degrees, something like that, to kill off any bacteria and parasites. So, like I said, if I was doing something for a pokey, what I'd normally do is, because when they're small they tend to burrow, you want to allow them some good burrowing space. So I tend to put a bit of bark in, put some substrate in the bottom, and then put some sphagnum moss in. Now, because we're dealing with avex here, what I'm going to do, because they don't burrow, they are strictly arboreal, even when they're young. Oh, for substrate also I bought a block of eco earth, which you add water to, and it rehydrates it. I have used organic peat soil before, but I find you get a lot of fruit flies, which are just annoying. For small spiderlings of this size though, you probably find they'd eat them, but I just find them too annoying, so you don't tend to get them with this block of eco earth. And it's about £5 for a block. Now, if you're gonna buy compost from a garden centre, you need to make sure that it doesn't contain any sort of pesticides, and also certain bark you can't have in it, such as orchid bark has pesticides in, so it's going to kill your spiderling. So make sure the best one I always found to go with it is an Irish peat moss. That's always what I've used if you are tempted to use garden centre compost. Add your bit of wood. I use sphagnum moss because firstly it's good for keeping humidity in, and secondly with small spiderlings it provides nice little nooks and crannies that they can hide in and feel secure in. And it's, for a big bag like that, I've paid about £8 and I've not had to buy another bag since. It just goes such a long way. It's very, like I said, very good at holding humidity, which is good for avex because they need high humidity and high ventilation. And that there, let's put the cover on, the front on, and that is your avicularia setup, and that's good for any sort of arboreal tarantula spiderling. And the principle remains the same for larger tanks. Obviously, when you're actually doing it, things vary, but the principle remains the same. And then I'll just do the same again for the second one. So you just add your substrate. Doesn't need to be a huge amount because it's not a burrowing tarantula, so you don't need to worry too much about that. Add your bit of bark, sphagnum moss. Done. Now for spiderlings this small, I don't put in water bowls because there's a good chance they'll drown themselves. Only when they get a bit bigger can you think about putting water bowls in. Other people may say differently, but this is just what I do and I've not had any problems so far. Whenever you spray the tub, they'll drink the water off the sides of the tub. That's what I've noticed, and it works fine for me. So yeah, let's go and put the spiderlings in their new enclosures, guys.